Hello everyone, it's MadClaret 94 here today, bringing you some Let's Talk Football, and this episode's going to be a little bit different, because John is not here today. He is ill, unfortunately, although I do believe he will be posting his own video on the Leicester scenario, which is a topic which I will cover in another video with JB when he is back. But I'm going to be doing my Premier League predictions here whilst playing some pro clubs. So whilst we wait for the lobby to start, as it has done quite well, I am playing as... Pick the position, there we go. I am playing as, if you cannot see, I am playing as Ronaldinho, because he, in my mind, is the great... That's horrendous. He, in my mind, is the greatest player to ever grace the game in terms of individual skill. So, still getting used to the manual shooting. Anyway, let's get into the predictions, shall we? As we're about to kick off here. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to shut Martin Tyler up because he's gonna interfere with the video. So just shut him up quickly.
Now the game has started.
Commentary. Off you go. Right. So we're going to start off with Chelsea. All the kickoffs are at 3 o'clock, apart from the game at Watford, which is a 5:30 kickoff. They play West Ham, but so all the kickoffs are 3 o'clock, and we start with Chelsea against Swansea. In a game which is, well, it should be fairly simple to predict, obviously. Chelsea off the back of a draw with Burnley in the league. Good result for them at Turf Moor. Having said that, the Lincoln result, which I'm not going to really get into because there are a lot of things wrong with that match, and that wasn't just the two sets of teams playing diabolically bad. But we'll leave that alone. So Chelsea obviously wanting to... obviously they've had a run of unbeaten games. Going against Swansea, I think will struggle in this game. They are going up against essentially the champions-elect. That ball was horrendous. Which, quite frankly, I wouldn't see anything... I would expect to see Chelsea to win this fairly strongly. I mean, Paul Clement's been doing a reasonable job. But I just think Chelsea are going to be too strong for them, and I'm going to go for 3-0 to Chelsea. Then we move on to Crystal Palace going up against Middlesbrough, which is a real relegation dogfight. Fat Sam will need to get a result there. Well, I say get a result there. He's at home. He needs a result in that match because it's his unrelegated CV is... Well, it's in danger of having a relegation put on it, basically. Middlesbrough, on the other hand, they're also in desperate need of 3 points. They've been picking up points here and there, but they've only been picking up draws, which is going to be useless. What a finish that is! Goalkeeper's being a bit of an idiot, though. Look, we're so yeah, Middlesbrough. I mean, I think this has got 0-0 written all over it. I think it will be a draw because both teams are struggling. If I had to back a winner, I'd probably say Palace simply because they're at home. But really, to me, this has got draw written all over it, and I'm going to go for 0-0 with that one. Then we move to Everton at Goodison Park. The goalkeeper's not playing, is he? No, he's not. Oh, good goal line clearance. Everton going up against Sunderland. Obviously, David Moyes returning to Goodison Park with Sunderland for the first time. Since, obviously, I mean, we all know his connection to Everton. Well, the way that Everton are playing right now, they're playing some top-draw stuff. Lukaku is in great form. Sunderland, on the other hand, are just woeful. So I'm gonna go for Everton to win. Same margin as Chelsea, really. That's the kind of situation it is. They're going up against teams that, top teams are going up against the teams that are right at the bottom. So I'm going to go for 2-0 in that one. Not the same scoreline, but a similar scoreline. I think Everton, they're not quite as clinical as Chelsea, but I say that they scored 6 goals against Bournemouth recently. So, but I'm gonna say Everton are going to win. I'm going to say 2-0 because that's being conservative. I don't want to be too disrespectful to Sunderland, but I just think that they're not really in it anymore. So it's going to be tough for them. And like I said, I'm going to say 2-0 Everton. Then we move to, as a Claret fan, this is I personally think this is the biggest game of the season, going away to Hull City. If we're gonna pick up some away points, it's going to be in this game. And the next 4 games basically are going to be, if we're going to pick up some away points, this is where we're going to pick them up, because we've got Hull and Sunderland as the next 2 away games. If we don't pick up any points in those games, I think we can probably be very worried about relegation, quite frankly, because our home form, well, after losing to Lincoln, every Premier League team is going to be going there going, why can't we win there? Lincoln, a non-league team, has managed to win there. Why can't we? So, yeah, I think that's the worry. So being away from Turf Moor after that diabolical defeat to Lincoln is probably healthy for us. But with our away form, how it is, and the way that Hull are playing, Hull have really picked up on after their new manager has come in. So I'm actually going to back Hull for the victory in this one. I'm going to back them for a 3-0 victory. I just can't see us getting anything at all from this game. This is the biggest game of the season. If we are going to pick up away points, it would be on this run, but I just generally can't see it. So I'm going to back Hull for the victory here. Ball nearly made it through. And like I said, I'm going to go for 3-0. I just can't see us getting anything at all. Then we move on to, we were going to move on to Southampton-Arsenal, but due to Arsenal's commitments to playing Bayern Munich in the second leg, that game has been postponed. It was supposed to be at St Mary's, but obviously that will be rearranged. Still at St Mary's, obviously, but for a later date. Then we move to West Bromwich Albion against Bournemouth. A game of 2 very contrasting sides in terms of how they play. One plays very good defensive football. The other one plays very attractive attacking football. And it will probably end up a stalemate, because what will happen is Bournemouth will have a lot of the ball, whereas West Brom will just kind of sit off, defend, and they'll probably end up cancelling each other out, because Bournemouth will probably have most of the attacking play. And obviously West Brom will defend it quite well, so I'm going to go for 1-1. Just think there's enough in both teams to score. I just don't think there's enough for there to be a clear winner in that one. I mean, Bournemouth have come across some hard times. West Brom are having a fairly good season, but it's just the way that the 2 teams play, the style that they are. I just feel like that's how it's going to go, and that is an equaliser by a bot. Terrific. Then we move on to the 5:30 kickoff. Like I said, Watford. They're going up against West Ham United. Watford at home are a very, very good team, and West Ham are actually quite good away from home. They're certainly better than they are at home. So I think this one's going to be a good game. I'm going to say it's going to be a draw, and I'm going to say it's going to be an entertaining draw of 2-2. That guy just failed to get me an assist. Yeah, I'm going to go for 2-2 simply because I think both teams are on the up. West Ham are certainly starting to recover a bit after their abysmal start to life at the London Stadium, but obviously they're away in this regard. But I think they'll be in they're in a much better frame of mind, and I think they will certainly take the game to Watford. But like I said, Watford's a difficult place to go, especially for a lot of teams this season. They've come unstuck against Watford, so I'm going to go for 2-2. And that's all of Saturday done. And then, excuse me. Then we've got Tottenham with a 1:30 kickoff. The only game on Sunday, going up against Stoke. Because the Manchester derby has been postponed due to Manchester City and Manchester United's European commitments. So it's interesting to see how many people are missing out on that. But yeah, the only game we've got is at 1:30, and it's Tottenham against Stoke. It's going to be an interesting one. That is a horrendous challenge. You'd probably back Tottenham, but after the defeat midweek to Ghent at Wembley, they'll be happy to be back at White Hart Lane, I'm sure. But they'll be looking to try and recover from that. And Mauricio Pochettino will certainly want them to recover from it. And Stoke, they're doing reasonable. You know, there's room for improvement, basically. But I think I will have to back Spurs for this one simply because they're playing on White Hart Lane. They are having a good season in the league. You know, they're above Arsenal, which is, well, they were above Arsenal. Arsenal now, they're jockeying in positions now. Basically, it's anyone's guess as to where people are going to finish. So I'm going to go. It's going to be a close game. I don't think it'll be easy for Spurs. I'm going to go for Tottenham 2, Stoke 1. I just feel it's going to be a tight game, but I think Tottenham will have just about enough to get over the line. Like I said, the Manchester derby was postponed, and then we move to the Monday night football, which is an interesting one because obviously Leicester City sacking their manager Claudio Ranieri are going to be going up against Liverpool, and Liverpool. Come on, let's get on this. Well, that's horrendous. Liverpool probably smell blood. They probably see this as a good opportunity to pick up easy points. I mean, Leicester's decision to sack Ranieri, I think. The way that Shakespeare came across in his press conference today as well, it just kind of smells like a betrayal. It really does. It's just horrendous. So, I mean, I hate to be really negative about Leicester, but I get the feeling they're going to get absolutely trounced. I'm going to go for. I'm fairly outrageous with my Liverpool scorelines. I generally think they're always going to score a lot. I'm going to say Liverpool 4, but obviously Leicester. They're fairly good at home. I'm going to say Liverpool 4, Leicester 2. I'm going to give them a goal or two, should I say? I'm slightly distracted. Yeah, Liverpool 2, Leicester. No, 4, Leicester 2. Let me get my words right. Yeah, I just think this weekend it's a little bit down on games this week. Like I said, because lots of a couple of European commitments, which is disappointing because we miss out, like I said, on the Manchester derby, and obviously Southampton will want to get their revenge for being drummed 5-0 at St Mary's against Arsenal, but they will have to wait because, well, like we said, their European commitments have got in the way. And that's all the games, sadly. And I will take a moment or two to talk about Claudio Ranieri because, like I said, the drop-in match is still going. Although this guy in blue is being extremely greedy. The decision to sack Ranieri to me is, well, ridiculous. He earned the right to get the rest of this season at least by winning the Premier League this season. I mean, come on. He got them a Premier League title. Why on earth have they decided to sack him? Oh my god, I've just been tricked by my own player. Right. Sorry, this guy right now is just... I kind of want him to get sent off. Anyway, that's not important. So basically, the decision to sack Ranieri is farcical. A lot of people now want Leicester to go down, which I think is a little bit harsh on the fans. Although, to be fair, I've come across so many Leicester City fans who think they're the bee's knees now that they've won the league once. I mean, not saying that's all of them, but the arrogance that they got, and suddenly they seem to think that they have a divine right to be a top club. When the reality is, it was a fluke season, basically. And N'Golo Kante was basically the reason you won the league. A lot of tactics. He got his tactics spot on last year. He has basically got the same set of players, but the thing is, it's too expensive to sack the players, so they sack the manager. That's pretty much the situation. Quite frankly, this whole situation of where apparently the players have complained about Ranieri's training methods and tactics, I think it's a load of rubbish, because this is the same guy doing the same tactics as he did last year. And it's not working because the players aren't pulling their weight. You know, Jamie Vardy last season was pipped to the Golden Boot. He scored 25 goals. Mahrez was one of the best players in the world. He was a top 5 player in the world that time. He really was. He was just outrageous in how good he was. But this season, and obviously Kante was literally... He formed a meme. That's how good he was. You know... It's like something. You hear the stat, you know, like 2/3 of the world is covered. The final third is covered by N'Golo Kante or something silly like that. But losing him obviously, Kante has basically transformed mid-table clubs into Premier League winners, because obviously he's going to win the Premier League with Chelsea this year, and they were mid-table last season. Leicester were mid-table the season before, despite the fact that they were in a relegation fight for most of it. They ended up finishing mid-table. He joined them. They became title contenders. So, they didn't become title contenders. They won the flipping league. So, to sack Ranieri, quite frankly, is abysmal. It's appalling. It just shows now that football is now all about results and being run as a business. Because if Leicester got relegated, it would completely screw them, pretty much. I mean, they've got the finances to obviously go straight back up. I mean, they won the Championship last time they were in it. I mean, it should have been Burnley the last time they were in it, but injuries stopped us. But it doesn't change the fact that they would probably bounce back immediately should they keep most of their players. I mean, Jamie Vardy would probably stay, but Mahrez, to me, he's one of the sources of their problems this year, because he's just been lazy. Not the same player. Very much like the Ozil situation. He's a top quality player, only when he wants to be. When he comes up against the minnows of the league, he might show up, but when it comes to the big games, he's just disappeared. Last year, he turned up in those big games. The Manchester City, the Arsenal, even though they lost to Arsenal twice. He turned up in those games. This season, he hasn't turned up at all. And a lot of people have said, they should sack the players. They can't afford to sack the players. It's far too expensive. So they sack the manager. And, player power is at its highest. And clearly, if the case is that the players complain to the board about Claudio Ranieri, which may have ultimately got him sacked, then it's, it just shows how football's gone now. Players didn't really have any power, say 16 years ago, but now it's like if the players want a manager gone, he goes. So it's appalling, really, considering they're the ones responsible for the bad performances. Sure, Ranieri picks the team, he picks a formation, but he picks them based on what he expects them to do, and they have not done what is expected of them. And Ranieri has paid a ridiculous price. There should be a statue outside the King Power Stadium of Ranieri, let alone sacking him. I mean, sacking him is just the most disrespectful thing I think I've seen from a guy who's basically turned Leicester City he turned them into the champions of England, and they've sacked him 9 months later. And Gary Lineker did make the point about, obviously, Mourinho being sacked, it's like 7-8 months after winning the title with Chelsea. But Chelsea are expected to be there all the time, whereas Leicester, their season was a miracle. So, yeah, it's incredibly disrespectful, incredibly disappointing. And if they're not, personally, I think that may have put the nail in the coffin for them getting relegated, because I don't think whoever they appoint is going to be under incredible pressure to keep them up. And I just don't see it. I can't see it at all. So that's my thoughts on Ranieri being sacked. I think it's ridiculous, and a lot of people do as well. But, that's it then. That is my predictions and my thoughts on Claudio Ranieri being sacked. Thank you very much for joining me. I mean, the stuff in the background was basically just background because I was with an incredibly greedy teammate. But we didn't do too badly. I mean, we had a 7.1, which is reasonable, I guess. Not, doesn't exactly represent Ronaldinho in the best way, but hey. It is what it is. What do you guys think of my Ronaldinho creation? Do you think he looks like him? I thought I did a reasonably good job at him. That's not the most convincing picture because he's not showing his really dodgy teeth. But hey, there we go. So thank you very much for joining me for this different edition of Let's Talk Football. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be back next week. JB will be back next week, and the duo will be back together, and we will get back to doing our normal video. So, like I said, thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. Cheerio.